At this point in my career, I have worked in several different practice management systems. Now, let me not say several like it's been hundreds. It's probably been about 6 to 8 different practice management systems that I have worked in. However, there's one thing that I can tell you, and that is that posting payments in each of these systems have been different. Each system have their own special way to post payments. Now, this video was requested by one of my subscribers. Thank you. I will put that comment on the screen. And I'm glad that it was requested, because if there's one thing you're going to have to do, or at least review or go through, that is going to be payment posting. After you've submitted the claim, if everything has gone well, you get an ERA, and then hopefully, if you got a payment, you will have to post that information. Make sure you watch this video all the way to the end, because I'm going to speak about what payment posting is, how you should do it, and what you should look for. And most importantly, why it is important to post payments. So keep watching. So let's hop right into it. What is payment posting? Now, let me first say that it's hard for me to not just say posting. I usually say payment posting. But when you say payment posting, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a payment that you're posting. Now, that can be confusing because I am saying payment posting, so you're figuring there is a payment. But there are some times when you receive remittance advice and there is no payment attached to that remittance advice. That may mean that the claim has been denied. It can mean that the claim was processed, but you just haven't gotten a payment with that. Now, if you don't understand all of these terms like processed and denied and rejected, I will link the video that I did above about the claim statuses. There are different claim status, and you need to know these claim status because they will help you go through your journey in figuring out what to do with the claim. But again, like I was saying, payment posting doesn't mean that there's a payment. For the most part, you would hope that there is a payment, but you may get a remittance advice that does not have a payment attached to it. Also, payment posting usually goes with the posting of insurance payments. So when you receive that remit, when you receive that EFT, that money, you post the payment. But posting payments can also refer to posting payments for patients, because patients also have a responsibility when it comes to claims and their cost share and what they owe in this process of the claim. So that can be a copay, that can be a co-insurance, that can be their deductible. If you do not know what those things are, I will link a video above about that. But see, all of these terms you need to get familiar with so you can know how to handle the situation. So in short, payment posting can be for a patient or for the insurance company, and it can be a non-payment or a payment. Now, how is payment posting done? Payment posting can be done manually, meaning a human being actually goes through the ERA, through each patient, and posts it manually in the system. This can be you, the biller, it can be the front desk, it can be your practice management system, and they have somebody manually posting your payments on that side. Either way, it is manual. It's not done by the computer automatically. Or you can have it done automatically, where it comes into your practice management system and you click a button and it automatically posts to all the patients that's on the remit. Now, of course, that one sounds awesome. That one sounds great, because who wouldn't want to just click a button and everything is posted? But there are some times when the computer messes up, because it is a computer, and you need to go through it. You need to make sure that things were posted correctly. Sometimes the computer can post things incorrectly to the wrong account, to the wrong section. Things can happen. So you just need to make sure that you review that. But that's the two ways that you can post payments: automatically and manually. And this is for insurance payments. Now, as far as for patient payments, I have never dealt in a system where it's done automatically. I'm assuming that can be done as well if they pay online, they pay by credit card, and then it goes automatically into your system if it's, let's say, a cloud-based system. So I can see that happening. I just have never had that luxury of having that done. For the most part, I have dealt with systems where I need to actually post the payment physically. Now, just as a little disclaimer, I want you to know that whether you're doing it manually or automatic, it all depends on your practice management system. I know I keep saying that over and over, and you might be saying, why do you keep repeating that? But I want you to know that it really does depend on your practice management system. There are so many systems out there, and each of them have different benefits, and the way that it's done, the process of posting the payment is all completely different. So I just want to stress that and make sure you understand that. So we're going to jump into two examples. The first example is going to be if you're posting a payment for a patient. The second example is going to be if you're posting a payment for the insurance. Now, when you're posting payments for the patient, I have about 5 things, I think even 6 things that you need to look for when you are posting that payment for the patient. And the first one is the date of service. You want to know which date of service are you applying this payment for. Now, if you have a patient who have been to your office for, many times, let's say 5, then there might be a lot of claims or accounts or encounters that are open that has not been paid, and you don't know exactly which date of service they're paying for. So the first thing you need to see is what is the date of service that they're paying for. Now, if that is not on the payment, then you might have a policy in your office where you say you have to pay off the oldest balances and go up to the more recent balances. I know that's how I usually do it in the office that I work for, or in the different offices that I have worked for. We usually pay off the older balances and then we go up to the more recent ones. But sometimes you have a patient who may say, I want to pay this $50 payment, and they have an old $30 payment. Now, I know in one of my offices before, we used to let them do that. If they wanted to specifically pay, they had a $50 balance for this specific date of service. They wanted to pay that off, but they had an older balance that was, let's say, $20, and they left that. We used to let them do that. I would not recommend that. And we cut that off very, very quickly, because now you paid off a visit that you had in April of 2024, and you still have an outstanding balance from one in, January of 2023. That doesn't really make sense, especially if you send patients to collections, because now this date of service is a year and some change, and they haven't paid that, but they're paying a more recent service. It just doesn't make any sense. So let me get off of that. The second thing that you look for is the date that they actually paid. So the date of service was when the service was performed. The date that they actually paid, you want to make sure you reflect that in the system. You want to show when they paid off that amount compared to when it was actually due. So if you do stuff like charging interest or, a late fee or something like that, you would need to know when they actually made the payment to know if you can add on that late fee, add on the interest. You wouldn't be able to know that by the date that they actually paid. Then you want to know the type of payment. Is it a cash payment? Is it a credit card payment, money order payment? However are the forms of payment that you take in your office, you want to know what it is and put that in the system. Of course, you want to know how much they paid. What is the amount that they paid? They have $1,000 balance and they paid $20. We might need to talk about that. But you want to know how much they paid. That is, of course, the most important, which is what I would think. And the next one is description. You want to put in the description many things, but most of the time it can be comments. It can be, let's say, an authorization for a credit card. It can be the check number. Let's say a patient's guardian pays with their credit card. You may want to put the authorization of the credit card and then put next to it, paid by spouse, blah, blah, blah. You just want to put in this description section more information that will give you some, more insight into that particular payment. And the sixth one I would add is a transaction code. Now, again, depending on your system, your transaction codes will vary, but I would suggest that you always have a transaction code and you have a transaction code list. So anyone who puts in payments know how to put them in and know which transaction codes belong to which. So for example, if I made a credit card payment and you're putting it in the system. If you choose the transaction code that says CC, just an example, for credit card, all the credit cards, whether it's me, someone else, whoever comes in and pays with the credit card, you use that one transaction code. So at the end of the month, you may just want to run a report to say, well, how many credit cards did we receive for the month? And you can pull that one specific transaction code and you can pull up all the credit cards for the month. And if you like the shirt that I'm wearing, it says, I'm a medical biller. Make sure you check out my shop. I'll leave the link on the screen. I have this design and others, and also other medical billing merchandise that you can check out as well. And now we're going to go through the insurance example. And we're going to go through one of the examples that I went through in my last video when I showed all the remits. This one is going to be for Aetna, and we're going to go through some things that I think is important for you to look for regardless of the payer, of the remit that you receive. This is the information that you should look for that would help you post payments better. So let's jump right into it. Let me throw on my glasses so I can see the remit. So what you should be seeing on the screen is Aetna's remit. And we're going to go through the things, I think it's about 10 of them, that you should be looking for. You want to first know who is the payer. And the payer here is Aetna, and it is in the left-hand corner of the remit. It shows you who it is. On different payers' remit, it may be on the right, on the left, in the middle, below, wherever. The second thing you will look for is who's it made out to. Now, in this particular remit, it does not show, let's say, the address or the payer's name, the practice name. That may have been on another page, maybe, or maybe not. But on this particular remit, it doesn't show it. But what it does show is the TIN number and the NPI, which is on the top right-hand corner in that box. Now, if you know about TINs, which is your EIN or your tax ID number, this identifies the practice or the provider. And then you have the NPI, which is the National Provider Identifier, which also will tell you if it's for the practice or for the provider. So you need to look for who it's made out to, and that can be actually an address, a name that it actually shows, or you can link the identifiers, which is the TIN or the NPI, to find out who it's being paid to. The next thing you want to look for is the date of processing. And in this example, if you look on the left-hand side, a little further down under the payer's name, you will see that it was processed on November 26, 2021. They received it on November 24th, 2021, but it was processed on the 26th. Knowing the date that it was processed, or even when it was received, is important if maybe you had a corrected claim and you need to know if this remit is for the original claim or for the corrected claim. And then, of course, which is most important, you want to know who is this payment for. It needs to have the patient's name and the patient's account number. So if you look on the left-hand side underneath the payer's name, you see patient name, and then to the right of that, you see patient ID. The patient ID helps you find it in your system because most likely that is the ID number that you put on the claim that is in your practice management system. Then you look for the date of service, which on this remit says service date, and the service date is 10/15/2021. Then you want to know the CPT code or the HCPCS code. And in this example, it says service code. Now, sometimes you may bill a code, and then when you get the remit back, the insurance put another code, or they maybe messed it up. So if, let's say, you wrote the claim and it wasn't clear, and instead of a 4, In this example, they thought it was a 5. You just need to review and make sure that what you actually billed as far as the code is correct. In this case, the code is 47562 modifier 80. Now, we're not going to talk about the modifiers today, but I will be doing a video talking about modifiers. So we're just going to say that the service code is 47562. If you go over to your right, you see the submitted charge, which is the amount billed, and then we want to know the allowed amount. So I say the amount billed, but in this case, they refer to it as the submitted charge, and that amount is $3,750. Then they have, I say the allowed amount, they said the allowable negotiated amount, same thing, and they have $560. These amounts, of course, are important because you can bill anything, but what they allow is the most that they will pay. Depending on if you are in network or out of network, you may be able to charge more than their allowed amount, but we will talk about that in another video. Then we are looking for whether there is a non-covered amount, a deductible amount, a copay, or a coinsurance. In this example, there is a non-covered amount or a not payable amount. So you see that further down where it says not payable, $3,190. Now that is usually the difference between the submitted charge and the allowed amount. And you need to just make sure that that figure actually adds up. Then you have, is there any deductible? In this case, there's no deductible, there's no copay, but there is a coinsurance. And the coinsurance amount is $112. Then you want to find out, are you getting the money? Where's the money? And you are getting paid, and you're getting paid $448. You see that where it says payable amount. And last but not least, you're going to look for any codes, any remarks, any claim adjustment codes, anything that gives you more information about how the payer processed the claim. And in this case, we do see a remark. It's under C remarks. You see a number 1, and underneath that you will see a section on your left hand side all the way to the bottom. It says remarks, and the 1, they usually tell you what it means. So in this case, the 1 means that the member's plan pays for charges we find to be reasonable and appropriate. We base the benefits for these charges on our rules. When multiple services occur on the same date, the member does not owe this amount. I like that they say that as well, because then you will know whether you need to bill the patient or if you need to write it, adjust it off, send an appeal. You'll figure that out. For the most part, most payers are clear with their remarks. There are some that are horrible, but most of the time they are clear. So we went through one of these remittance advice, and we looked for everything that we need to know about the claim. Again, if you have a different type of remit, it may not have on all of this information, but these are the things that you should look for. And after all of this, you may want to know, why is it important to post payments? I already received the money, the check, whatever, in my account. I deposited it. What is the importance of actually putting it in the system? I have like hundreds and hundreds of payments that I need to put in the system, but I have more important things to do. I really can't do that. And I'm going to answer that question for you. You need to make time to payment post. That is a non-negotiable. It should be mandatory in your daily duties. And I'm going to go through 4 reasons why payment posting is so important. And the first thing is that it gives you an accurate view of your accounts receivables. And if you don't know what accounts receivables are, I will link the video that I did about that so that you can be clear about what accounts receivables are. But accounts receivables are important because you need to know what people owe you. You need to know what's out there. And if you're not posting the payments, whether insurance or for the patient, on the accounts, it would make you seem like there is so much out there that people owe you. You will not have an accurate reflection of what you have done versus what you have collected. It will probably show that your provider has done thousands and thousands of dollars worth of work, but they're not getting paid. And if that's not true, then that's because you're not posting the payments that you actually receive into the system. The second thing is that it gives you an accurate view of your revenue. Again, you want to put in how much you're making. After the provider has done all of this work, seen all of these patients, they want to know that they're getting paid. They want to see that there is money coming into their account, that they have the funds that they need to sustain their practice, to pay their staff, and to enjoy life themselves. So if you don't post payments, it will show that the revenue is low. It will show that you didn't collect anything for the month of April, but that's only because you did not post that information in the patient's account. The third thing is to prevent errors in patient statements. Now, if you're not posting the payments that the patients make, you probably will start to send out inaccurate, false statements. If a patient paid their copay at the time of service, but you didn't get a chance to post it, the insurance pays their portion. You put that in the system, but then it shows that the patient has a $30 copay. So then you send out the statement. Boom. You send out the statement. You get a call from the patient and the patient is livid. They are so mad because they're saying that I made this payment. The date of service that I had this visit done, I paid my $30 copay. They don't want to have to pay more than what they need to pay, but it's not reflecting that they paid because you did not post the patient's payment, or the front desk or whoever is responsible for posting these payments did not post it. So it prevents all of that headache of the patients calling, getting aggravated, you doing research. It prevents all of that if you just post the payments when you need to. And last but not least, it prevents wasting time with inquiries and resubmitting of claims. All of that is a time and a money waste. If you are not posting your insurance payments and you go through your agent report, you're going to start to notice that, oh, I have a claim since January that wasn't paid. Maybe I need to just resubmit it again. Or I'm going to pick up the phone and call the insurance and find out why they did not pay for this claim. But then after spending all this time on hold, finally getting to a representative, you realize that the payment was paid, 2 weeks after you sent it out, but you didn't post that payment. So now you have to, are you sure? For real? You go through your stack of payments that you need to post and you realize that you have already been paid for that. They have already sent out the remit or the electronic remittance advice, but you just didn't do your part. So instead of wasting all of that time and that money doing extra work that you don't need to, just make sure that you post your payments. I hope you understand the importance of posting payments. If you have any comments, please leave them below and share this video with any new biller, even established billers that just have issues or problems with posting payments. And I will see you again in my next video.